So one of the things I wanted to accomplish today is to make Samantha's life easier. And
You like
Angelique's easier. Because yesterday, if you guys tuned in, I talked about fundamentals. And my objective is that we express our fundamentals in a way that make us better than most. And that sounds tacky maybe, but it's kind of how I feel. And a lot of things we talk about and strive for are not the easy way to do things, but they're the right way to do things. So I personally have a challenge because I talk with Samantha and Angelique often, and they do too much fixing problems that you guys create where they could be better.
That's not true. I wouldn't put it that way.
No. We have jobs because of you guys. We love the agents. We'll do whatever we can to back you guys up.
Don't
listen to that guy. Who is that guy talking?
You're robbing them of the opportunity to become professionals. And
they are professionals. What are you talking about?
Professionals at DotLoop, because I go into a lot of Loop and they're all screwed up.
That's true.
There's multiple things. There's things that aren't archived. There's duplicate copies of stuff. It's confusing. There's so many things waiting to be shared on others, waiting for the blah, 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 blah. So,
and remember, you have a different access level because you're the broker, so you see everything. That's not what everybody else sees.
Yeah, the agents don't see the multiple loops, and that's the problem because they don't know that multiple loops are created.
They're not loops per se, they're just different views.
And I'm going to talk about that because it's being added to the team versus not adding people to the team. It creates multiple loops. So that's one of the things I have to talk about. So I'll address that.
Well, I think we wanted to focus today on listings, right? Let me switch my view here to attendees. So I want to focus on listings. So in your opinion, Angelique, you went through serious DotLoop training because you're a certified looper, certified a couple other things too, but that's all aside. So you're a certified looper. Sam, you're just a millennial who's way into tech. So let's talk about best practice. I've got a listing appointment coming up, right? We don't just use DotLoop to create the listing package, right? It's got everything in it. It's got all the forms, everything we could possibly want. So what would you do, Sam, if you had a listing appointment coming up? And I'll take you back a couple of weeks when Dick Wilson did the class with me. Before he even goes, he just assumes that he's going to get a listing. Mm-hmm. So he prepares his entire listing package up front. It's ready to go, and he even shares it with them, and then they can open it. Some people choose to print paper, and some people choose just to PDF it and send it on its way. Mm-hmm. So what would you do?
I would do exactly what Dick just did. I would start the loop, prepare the paperwork. You can share it to them ahead of time. They can go ahead and look over it. You can share it to them via email, and you can attach it. You can click the button to attach PDF. So if they want to print it out, they can. If they want to, download it, look at it, they can. And then you don't have to print out the paper. If they want to print out the paper, they can.
There's a leave behind. Like if you put your CNA or your SPA in your listing loop.
Yeah. And
you should.
You could bring an iPad with you. You could bring a laptop with you. You could bring your phone with you. And they could sign it right then and there. Your document.
Even on your device.
Yeah, on your device, you can host in-person signing. And it'll keep the paperwork clean. You won't have to worry about getting initials next to change to things because DotLoop will take care of that for you. That's one of the nicest things when I'm reviewing paperwork is that when there's something changed but it's signed in DotLoop, I know that the sellers have seen the most recent update because DotLoop doesn't work like that. So DotLoop will force you to have updated paperwork basically. And then you don't have to worry about crossing out dates. You don't have to worry about crossing out prices. I know that a lot of sellers still want to do old school fashion paper signing, and that's perfectly fine. You can still do that. When that does happen, though, a lot of people, the misstep is that they take their listing agreement that they have, they scan it into the loop, and they don't do anything else. They just leave it like that, and then they go to submit for review. So the system's smart, but it's not smart enough to know that you scanned in a listing agreement, but you didn't put it in the placeholder of the listing agreement. So the system won't let you submit because that doc is going to be required to submit. So in DotLoop, the required versus optional is just to submit. It's not necessary for file. It's just required to submit. So if something is required and you see the word required, you will not be able to submit your loop. And
until that placeholder is filled.
Right.
And
so
Tammy, why don't you share your screen so we can see what you're talking about too?
Okay. How do I share screen?
Look at Sammy in Chicago acting like an adult. Wow.
It's dark in this apartment. I have a light on, but it's also 7:30. Okay.
Oh, my glasses. Good morning, y'all.
So I'll go into one of these. These are all new listings to review that are from this morning. And I have more that my mom sent me. So when, of listings that are going pending. So another thing I wanted to touch on is filters, and why I'm on this screen. I'm going to touch on it because as admin, we have access to everyone's loop. If I turn off my filters,
it's scary looking.
It's awful. There's stuff from 2015 in here. There's stuff from 2016. And we would never be able to. So this is what y'all's loop pages will look like. You'll have every loop you have access to. And to change that, so let's say you're working on listings and you just want to see your active listings. You can come in here. All I did is click this filters. And if you have a different loop view on, yours could look like this, right? So this is that page. There's a couple different views. I personally I leave it on list view. But that's how you change it. You just toggle it here, right? So your filters, you can create whatever you want your filters to be. And this is where the loop status, and this is where the review stage comes in. It doesn't have any effect on anything else. It's mainly just for your filters. And so we can know what is going on. So pre-listings, I don't put loop status in my filters because I know that a lot of you guys don't touch your loop filters before it's submitted. So I would miss out on a lot of stuff if I had that filter selected. So personally, I don't, but for you, the agent, you would want to categorize your deals. So it's pre-listing is before it goes in MLS. And when we put it in MLS, we mark it active and change it for you. Same with under contract, pre-contract, or I guess it's pre-offer. But so you can change that. So if I change and just choose pre-listing and hit apply, it's going to show me everything in a pre-listing status. Now, this is where it comes in for admin, where all the multiple loops become a problem because as you can see, we see everything we could possibly ever see. And this is just stuff that's pre-listing. It might not be happening anymore. It could be archived. But these aren't archived. So that means that Gail sees this when she is in her loop. Barbara sees this. Debbie sees, you know what I'm saying? So there's stuff in here. There's old stuff in here too. Nanette, she hasn't been with us for a while. But she would still see this because it's not archived on her end. So
and there's no deleting in DotLoop.
There's no deleting. There's only archiving.
Right.
And you can change your filters to hide the archived properties, and you can change your filters to see only the only archived properties. So if you think you mistakenly archived something, you can always go and check. I'm going to look only the archived pre-listing. There's so many, and you can see this little tag here. It says archived. That's how you know. And I'll show you guys how to archive something because.
So a lot of agents are kind of frustrated because their loop is all messed up. So like Chris Reed talked about yesterday, make a commitment to do something today. Maybe your commitment today could be to go clean up your loops and archive the old stuff so it doesn't frustrate you. Just about.
Yeah. So I'm just going to come into a loop and give you an example. So Dick has turned in a new listing. We were talking about him earlier. So he's got a team invite sent to his manager. Perfect. That's allowed. That's good. We suggest that. And I know Deb wants to be added to Allison City Loop, so good start. So what happens is, see this says select loop status. I will always come in here and choose pre-listing, and that's where it ties into the filters. From this, you can also choose archived. And agents do have access to this. This isn't just an admin thing. Admin can archive required documents and agents can't, but anyone can change their loop status to archive. That's a common question I get. The only thing is that if you don't have listing for sale already chosen, then you won't have access to the second dropdown. So it's an order of events. You have to have the first thing selected so the second thing becomes an option. Like if this wasn't selected, if this wasn't selected at all, you wouldn't have the option to do this yet, because it needs you have different options depending on what the first thing is. That's what I'm trying to get at. See, if I chose purchase for a contract, you get pre-offer, under contract. But if I'm in a pre-listing for listing for sale, I get pre-listing, private listing, active listing. So anything has the archived. You can archive anything you would like to, any loop you want to.
But if you archive it, you can unarchive it too, right?
Yeah, you can always archive it. You come in here and you just change that back from archived. Now, an important thing too. So if Dick was working with a co-agent, let's say he was working with Sandy, he would want to add whoever the co-broke agent is, not co-broke agent, whoever his co-agent list agent is with him, he would want to add them to the team the first thing that he does, because if not, a team invitation will be sent. And so that's what's happening here. And the difference is that now Deb will have to go in her email, see a notification, and click into it to accept that team invite. If the only way I know to avoid sending the team invite is to add the person to the team, the first thing that you do, don't change anything else in the loop. As soon as you change something in the loop and you add someone, it'll send that team invite. I'm not sure what the DotLoop reasoning for that is, but that's kind of what it is. And once you add someone to the team, they cannot be unadded. So yesterday I had a couple agents. One agent was not involved on the transaction, but she was added to the team to help them print something, which is fine. That's helpful. But now that agent is stuck in that loop and sees it on her loop screen and wants it to go away. And I have to be like, well, I'm sorry, there's no way to undo that. You're just going to have to wait till it closes. So what they could have done maybe is just share the documents that she needed to be printed to that agent, and then that agent could have removed herself later. So you can share documents to people without them being on the team if you need help with printing, if you need help looking over documents. But as soon as you add them to the team, they will be on the team. So no clients, no co-broke agents, just the people you are working with, your transaction coordinators, your managers. So that is the thing. And then also one thing is that, so the listing template that you choose, if it's a vacant land you're going for, if it's a commercial, if it's a rental, it will be populated with a list of documents. So it'll have the vacant land, stellar MLS, data entry form. It'll have the income, whatever you choose. Little things will change.
Just, can I interrupt? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So just when you're starting your loop, there's going to be a list of templates that you can select from. So they're broken down by listing and by property type, or by contract and property type. So you guys, depending on what kind of property type you're working with, or if you're working with a listing or a buyer side transaction, this is where you're going to find your templates, your list of documents that are already pre-formatted, set up, ready to go with all the paperwork you need to get your process started, your transaction started. And you don't need to go hunt through the list and try to build your own package. We've already done that for you. You can add to it down the road if there's an addendum that's specific to that transaction that you need to add. You can also find that and add that. We'll show you how to do that. But the initial get started, set up for you, ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And so I know in a previous one we've talked about pulling up the address, and it pulls up MLS numbers instead of Google Maps. And so when you're starting your listing loop, if you see something like this and it says .loop MLS number, blah, 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 you don't want to check that, because it's going to add you to, it's going to basically, what?
It's going to add, you're going to see everything that loop
is
out there.
Somebody else Yeah, it's somebody else's listing loop. So you want to make sure that you're choosing from Google Maps, basically, when you're starting your listing loop. So
Wait, I'm getting confused. You can actually look in somebody else's file from Chicago?
well,
It's an
no.
active listing. You can get the listing documents that pertain to the contract side. It's called Easy Offer. That's a whole nother ballgame. I don't want to get into that right now. That's another training class.
If I clicked this, it would just pull in the bare minimum details that he had set up. And he would be a person in my loop. Nicholas Apostle, the listing agent, would be a person in my loop. And it would be so I could send him the documents back easily. So this is for time of offer. I'm just saying, when you're setting up a listing loop, start fresh. This is my Brandon address. So like, I have previous DotLoops in here because this was my test address when we started. This is where I lived in Brandon. So I'm going to pull from Google Maps so it's fresh. I don't have any other takeaways. So this is the templates. And if I try to go without adding a template, it'll say you must select a loop template. So you have to do this. Most commonly used for me will be listing residential, but listing commercial, listing mobile home, listing lead. So the mobile home listing too, this is just when the land is not included and you need a specific license type for this. So if you have a mobile home that's a co-op or has land involved, listing residential, keep going. Listing vacant land, listing other. So listing other will be like, if you have a one-party listing agreement, you can use this to start your loop and it won't pull in any documents for you. It'll be essentially a blank loop. And we have one of those for contracts too. So if you're working with a client and you don't know what they're going to do yet, you can choose listing other and then you can build your templates later. Contract residential, same. There's onboarding stuff that y'all don't need to worry about, but anything you need in here will be in here. So I'm just going to start with listing residential if it would let me. Okay. Listing residential, we're going to continue. If you have a photo, you can upload a photo. At time of listing, we put a photo in if you don't have one because we have to download your photos anyways. Give it a minute. If you can just choose pre-listing right there. And if you know your price, you can put a price. If not, just keep going. So this is what I was talking about where it says required. So update this document and submit for review. Now, there's a couple different ways to do it. What I would say to do, the first thing to do is to add yourself as a listing agent. So you'll be in your loop. It's because I'm an admin that I'm not. But you will be a person in your loop and you just have to change your role to list agent. So it will properly autofill the documents for you. So you choose your role. Let's just say listing agent. See, it changed to Kim. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Thanks for letting me use your name. Sam Beggins.
And you know what, you guys, it's important for you guys to know how to manage your DotLoop because when your clients have questions, you're going to want to be able to answer their questions for them. And so it's great to have a transaction coordinator. All of that's fine, but you also need to understand how the process works so you can help your clients.
And one of the most common things, somebody asked me this just yesterday, and I get this question a lot, is that they'll put their client in and they'll misspell their last name. They'll misspell the first name. They'll misspell the email. All you have to do is click in here, and it was Kim Hodgkin's name, and all you have to do is click in here and change it. Now, the problem becomes when the client has already created okay, so let's say the email is correct and you misspell their name. So when the client has clicked in to make their own account, it's going to give you a yellow square. You won't be able to edit their information. So this is like, you can still edit it. I'm wondering, so this is what it's going to look like when you can't edit. It says this person, and it tells you, this person has already created an account. Contact this person to request them to update the name and email address. So you will not be able to click in here and change it anymore, right? Because they've create an account and assumed the name. All they will need to do at that point is log back in under themselves, come up here, they can go to my account, and they can change their name to their proper spelling, leave it at that, save it, and it should update itself in your loop.
And hold on, Sam, before you leave, also click the profiles tab over there. Yep. This is another section, that profile name. We're in an admin situation, so that's why the profile name says Century 21 Beggins, but your account will default to the office. It'll say default South Tampa, default Apollo Beach. You guys need to get in and update your account settings. So when you're populating your paperwork, it reads correctly. You want to say your name, not default Brandon.
Right.
So it's important for you guys to update your profiles and your account settings. Add your photo. It's nice to see a face with a name. It's nice to know who you're talking with. So please, we help you do this when we're onboarding, but if you've been with us for a while, check your account settings, please.
I was trying to see if I could find a little picture in here, but
like Brenda, you're on Brenda. She sent you you've got a notification from Brenda. She doesn't have a photo in her DotLoop. No. So when she's this is what her clients see. So when she's talking with, or, messaging or communicating with her clients, there's no photo there. And I just, with the world the way it is, we look like nice people. We don't look like axe murderers. So, you know what I mean? It's nice to have the name with the face.
Right.
Okay. So please update your account settings. Make
Sam,
sure
there was a question that says, can a buyer change their email address?
Absolutely. This is exactly what we're showing you right now. This is exactly what a buyer would do.
When you get that yellow and it says this person has created an account and you have to contact them, they would log in and come up here to my account, right? And they'll be on this page and their email address is right here. They can update it. They can edit it. If they're not tech savvy and they want you to log in for them, maybe you can do that for them. I don't really recommend logging in as them, but
let them manage their own accounts. And then while you're on this tab, see that Zillow Premier Agent? You can link your Zillow account to your DotLoop account. Mm-hmm. So whenever it's an easy way to access surveys and request surveys from your clients. So we, as at the OTLs, when we're onboarding and we're setting up your profiles, we've done this for you guys. But again, some of you have not. So you want these systems talking to each other. Okay, so your real satisfied surveys flow through, and this is an easy way to request a Zillow survey. You don't even have to go to Zillow. You can do it directly from your listing loop or your buyer side loop.
And the best recommended practice for that is you ask for the Zillow review at time of contract, and because the real satisfied review comes at time of closing.
Yep.
A lot of customers don't want to do two surveys at one time.
Yep. Or they can do them at the same time and copy and paste their remarks. So they say they write them a testimonial in the Zillow review. They can copy and paste their remarks and then go do the real satisfied survey with this, and they don't have to take the time to retype everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And just another thing that's on my mind right now is, DotLoop becomes your past client maintenance system too. So teach the customer that when they buy a refrigerator, scan the receipt and put it in their loop. Let it be their household service box online, and they'll be going to DotLoop every time, and then you'll have your photograph there and your contact information of thinking of you when they use DotLoop for their home stuff, which is our ultimate goal all the time.
That's right.
So I really spend a little time inviting them, making sure they're using the loop properly, and then talk about the future use after closing as a maintenance thing. It's really cool.
Because they can find their closing statements there for their taxes, appraisals, surveys, inspection reports, all of that, repairs, all of that stuff can be added to the files.
But they're not thinking that way unless you remind them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So another thing that happens a lot with the people section is that there'll be duplicate entries for their clients where there's an entry with an email and there's an entry without an email. So that's fine, but the problem comes in to when you're auto-filling the document And I'm just going to choose one to give you an example. So the problem is I chose seller and seller, but basically if I had the same role, both are marked as seller, I go to share this document with Sam Beggins, it's not going to let me because I have multiple people and this one doesn't have an email. So the problem becomes, I don't want to say the changes because I'm going to do something later, but the problem comes, you don't know from the drop-down menu which one has the email address and which one doesn't. And the one without the email address is probably going to be the one that loads because that's just how DotLoop works. It just seems to be. It's either the first one that gets added in there. I don't know how it works for you guys, but this happens a lot where you don't know why it's not sending to your client, but it's because you're choosing to autofill the documents with the entry without the email. So to clear that up, all you have to do is come down here and find out which one has the entry for the email and click here and remove the one that does not have, right? So if you come over here to the people section, you won't have the 3 dots to remove like you do in that previous one. Here, you'll have a lot more room to edit their information, and this is good for when you want to autofill the documents, so it'll give you the information, but you won't be able to remove people from here. So that's just one thing I wanted to touch on. Okay, back on track. We've added ourselves as a listing agent. Let's add a seller in here. Let's just do, and seller, we'll do my personal email so we don't get any issues. See, so that's also interesting because I chose an email from my contacts and it chose their name of what I've previously had them as. So this email in my contacts is tied to Sally Seller instead of and seller, what I had typed in. So that's an important thing too. If you're using an email from a client you've already used and you're trying to put a different name, it's going to revert back to what they're saved as. So I'm just going to use Sally Seller and I'm going to add person. And now what you can do is all of these documents are required, meaning you cannot submit for review, listings, going to listings, because it says 7 documents are required to submit, and it tells you which documents they are, but in this case, it's all of them. So you can open all the documents from here, or you can go back to your loop and check it out. So what I would say to do is to check mark by the folder, right? And it check marks all the applicable documents. It's not check marking the tax record because it's a blank, it's grayed out. There's nothing there. You have to put something there. Same with the SPA, and the sign up order is something we do in the back office. So these are blank placeholders, whereas you can't open them. There's nothing to open. But seller property disclosure, this would be the blank seller property disclosure for you to fill out. So we're going to open all the documents.
There's something about the seller's disclosure though.
Well, you have to choose the right, the correct rights for them. So I would not recommend sharing them all at the same time because the seller property disclosure has to be filled and signed. But if you have 2 clients, multiple clients, you'll want to change that every time. So I'll get to there. Okay, seller is Sally Seller, listing agent, it's got me in there. We got the address. Listing agent name is still Kim from the first time I did it. So make sure that you're updating it because even though I updated it in my people section, the system still had it. So you'll still want to check out what you're putting. Just because you autofilled it doesn't mean it's going to be 100% correct. People type errors all the time. It happens. Purchase price, we'll keep it at 100,000. It doesn't matter if you put a dollar sign or not. It really has no effect on anything.
And this isn't under contract, so that can be removed.
Yeah,
we're just working on the details for the listing right now.
So listing date, let's just say, I just know that's 6 months period. That's really the only reason I did those dates. Let's say it's 900,000. We'll have remarks later. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll add a legal description just so you can see how it pulls in. Right, so square footage, let's just say it's 901. We got 4 bedrooms. It's built in 2020. We got 3 bathrooms, right? So we're just going to autofill. And it's going to tell me 3 roles have been assigned and 47 fields have been autofilled. So that's 47 places I don't have to type the same information over and over again. So we look at the deal sheet. And just
Julie,
because,
you want to comment on the deal sheet?
well, just because you're dealing with the deal sheet or autofilling the deal sheet doesn't mean that that's all you have to fill out, because I ask people every day if they want to sign. And I feel really annoying doing it every time because most of the time they don't want to sign. But if you just click this little box of no, I won't ask you if you want to sign. Same thing. If you click yes, just put how many you want. That's really the only thing I have with the deal sheet.
Gate codes are important too, because when the sign company has to go back out because they realize there's a gate code and they can't get in touch with the agent, they can't get in, we get charged. We get charged a trip charge. So it ups our sign bill. So please help us not to have to pay that.
Yeah, Sam, just say that again. So autofill doesn't complete the deal sheet for you.
Autofill will not complete any of the documents for you. You will still have to go in. It will just take out the hefty
The duplicative.
Yeah. So I didn't have to put Sally Seller. I didn't have to put her contact info. I didn't have to retype the address. So still go through and, fill it out. So the listing agreement, the yellow is what's been filled in. So like I typed a legal description that pulled in, the dates, the cash price, but there's still financing terms. There's still stuff on here that you'll have to address. Okay, I'm glad I scrolled through the listing agreement because this is my number one thing. I have a canned response because I have to send this message so many times to so many different agents. This box right here is my worst enemy. Display the property on the internet, and then people stop reading, except the street address. If you check this, it means we have to check a box to not show your property address online. Most of the time, this is checked an error, and that's what I have in my canned response if you've ever gotten it from me. It's basically, they read this and say, display the property on the internet. And they say, yes, that's what I want to do. But just keep reading because it says accept the street address. That's just my PSA.
If it was important, we would have checked it for you.
Yeah. But like 6 out of 10 listings I review has this box checked.
But we want the street address showing because that ties into all of the 250 odd websites.
And there are some listings that don't want, like I've had listings that people actually don't want the street address. So that's where it comes in, is that I have to wait for a response from you. And you're like, why are you asking me that? Of course I want the address shown, but it's because this box is checked. And if you read it fully, it's telling me not, and I have boxes in MLS and in Dash to not show the property address online. Like there's measures in place. So by all means, if your client really does not want the property address displayed, like we can do that. But 9 times out of 10, you do want it displayed. So that's
we have to make up an address. We have to actually put in an address. We have to fill the fields.
Yeah.
So it'll be 0 Confidential Street because, it's a police officer who's listing his property. And that's completely fine and understandable.
Yeah.
But it's a very rare case that we don't display the street address.
And 10 times out of 10 times when I send that message, people are like, oh, that was marked in error. So I know that it's being marked in error because I'm being told it's being marked. So that's just my little PSA. Anyways, then this is also something that happens.
PSA, is that a public service announcement?
Yeah. I don't know what else to call it. Basically, sometimes I'll come in here and the 3% box will be checked, but then there will be a 2% in here. There will be a 2.5%. So I don't really know why. Maybe you're in negotiations with the client, you're in whatever, you're talking about it. But make sure when you're submitting that only one of these is filled in, because that will hold up your listing. That does matter. So just
hold up the listing. We're not being mean. She just needs an answer. And if you take a day or two to get back to the email, which a lot of agents do, then it's not our fault. We wrote you 2 days ago. You didn't write back, so we have to They have a whole file, that back office called listings to be loaded, that are just standing there in limbo. There you go. Listings. Scroll down. Look how many there are.
These are all predated. So these are like listings that people turn in ahead of time. They got the waiver. These are going to be sold data entry only. We have categories because there's so many different things that are happening to us. There's listings that we have photos for that we don't have paperwork yet. So we keep track of everything. And there's notes on here. You'll see MLS waiver. We need remarks and photos to get this live. So I know that when John emails me about his property, I can say, hey, your MLS waiver is up today. I need remarks and photos to get this live. So that's kind of how we detail things. Like for Jessica, my sister, she has a new listing, but she needs a property disclosure. So it's in red because that's something that will hold up your listing.
Jessica.
Beyond remarks and photos, but she's dated for tomorrow. She's dealing with it. She knows what she needs to do. So that's kind of where when I say your listing's being moved up on our list to be entered, because that's a common thing I tell you guys, that's what I mean. It means I'm taking your listing from here and I'm saying it's ready to be entered. We're going to enter it.
Hey, Jessica just said, I have it. I just need to scan it in. Just as my PSA today, I've got an app on my phone called Adobe Scan.
And DotLoop has a built-in scanner in their app.
It does? Oh,
yeah.
An app. Okay.
Yeah, the app of DotLoop on your phone. But yeah, continue.
But the Adobe Scan is awesome. I just hold it over the thing. It grabs the corners. It says hold steady, which is hard for me. And then it goes boom, and then I go save, and then I email it to myself, and I've got a PDF made.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I suppose you'd have to load it in 4 different scans, Jessica, if it's 4 pages.
Nope, but this app, I just take a picture, say next, take a picture, next, take a picture, next.
Oh.
I think DotLoops does something like that too.
And then Dick Wilson had a question about the personal representative. So like say there's a trustee for an estate or the personal rep for, the estate. So
what I would do is exactly what I did. I would put the person's name as Sally Seller, just like that. So her initials will just be SS. And I would come into the listing agreement and I would say personal rep for, and just change that so that way her initials aren't going to be SSPRFSB. It'll just be as Sally Seller and she will just sign as Sally Seller. But the document will clearly say what relationship she has. And I'm perfectly fine with that. That's fine. So that's exactly what I would do. I would put the person, whoever it is, just as themselves in the loop. And
the signer.
Yeah, the signer. And then just alter the first line on the listing agreement, on the contract, save it, and you'll be all set. And you won't have to worry about funky initials. You won't have to worry about funky signatures. Just that.
Same for contract.
Same for contract. All you have to do is update that line. So that's fine. We got the listing agreement. You keep scrolling and then you hit this. So a lot of these fields have been filled out because of the autofill, but as you can see, a lot of them have not been. So when entering an MLS, these red fields are required for us. When we're entering, we can't save a listing without putting something in these fields. So if you don't put something here, we have to mark the defaults of other, or we have to mark something. We can look at the photos and try to guess, but most of the time we're going to just choose other when other is there because we don't want to mistakenly put something on your listing. So all of these red fields as you go through. But so in the autofill menu, I put 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, I put the square footage. But most of this stuff isn't autofillable. You'll have to go through and figure it out, right? So another thing here with the room sizes and room types. There's this whole big box up here, and I don't blame anyone for not reading it, but basically what it is MLS, when we're entering a listing, we have to put 3 rooms: kitchen, master bedroom, and a living room / great room. So when your entry is blank and you don't put room sizes, we have to put, 3 rooms. And we have to put fake dimensions for them. And then we put in your realtor remarks that room sizes are approximate. Our defaults are 10 by 10. And so you'll see kitchen, master bedroom, and living room as 10 by 10. And in your realtor remarks, it'll say room size is approximate, buyer to verify. And that's when this is left blank. So if just by bare minimum, you have those 3 rooms, put them. That's all you need. Just 3 rooms, living room, kitchen, master bedroom. I see this a lot when people put in these room features, like they load them up with room features. They put everything the room has. But in MLS, we only have these choices: the bar, the ceiling fan, the garden bath, the pantry. There's a drop-down menu, and we can choose from this list. So we can't put in that there's, I don't even know. I've seen some wild things, a chandelier. Yeah. So if we're not inputting that and you don't see it on your listing, that's why. It's not a personal thing. It's just we literally don't have the capability to do so. So if you're putting your master bedroom has dual sinks and the bathroom features, I don't put the bathroom features because it's a bedroom and there is an option to put the master bathroom. So MLS will flag it and it's a whole thing. So if your room sizes and
Sam,
your
can
room,
you maximize your screen so it takes your whole desktop?
yeah.
I'm squinting pretty hard. There you go.
So these choices up here are the only ones we can choose from. But master bedroom doesn't actually have the dual sinks because there's a tab for master bathroom. So if you're not seeing on your listing what you have on the data form, that's why. It's not to be mean. It's not to change your listing. It's just we don't have the capabilities outside of what's on this form. So water, that's pretty standard. Green information, if you fill stuff out here, but there's no paperwork in the loop, I ignore this tab.
To back this up, you have to have the certifications, the requirements, meet the requirements.
Yeah, MLS will send us a compliance notice if there's no green energy attachment to back this up.
Called a LEED, LEED certification.
Yeah, so
gold,
that's
green,
a common thing.
Blue, I think.
Remarks. So the remarks on here, this box is tiny, and a lot of people don't want to type the remarks in here, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to because we've built out this document for your public remarks, your realtor remarks, and your driving directions. A lot of people don't put driving directions, and we just pull them from Google Maps. If you don't, not the end of the world, but it does slow down the process. And then we'll probably have to update the driving directions later on for you anyways, because they're not accurate because they're from Google Maps and it's like not the right way to get to the property or like the most logical way. So that is the thing. But also the public remarks has updated. So we're probably gonna have to update this. It's not 1530, it's like 3000 now.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. But so you'll see that I'm not touching anything on these documents. I'm not having the seller sign them. I'm not sharing them with the seller. Literally just auto-filled them. I saved it. And now all of these documents, except for the tax record, because we have to put something there, are saying not submitted instead of required. So even without my person signing, without sharing them, I could submit this to the back office right now once I pull in the tax record. And you'll see that message has now just been the tax record. Instead of that list of 7 documents, it just says 1 document. It will always tell you what's holding you up from submitting. So the thing that I'm getting at is that just because it's a required document to submit, just doing the bare minimum of opening them and autofilling them will release that requirement. Not the end of the world. It's not scary. So yeah, tax record, you'll have to pull something in to be able to submit, but.
Show them how to add tax record.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me what site I use and what site they should be using. A lot of people use IMAP. I don't. I use the county property appraiser site. So I don't know what's an address. Let's type in 1802 Sterling Palms. No.
While you're looking, use my house, Sam.
Okay.
Carol asks, when you're adding a new person, do you always click the box for sending an intro email?
It's your personal preference. If you want to, if your clients like it, then yeah.
It's just a touch. It's a way to let your clients know that you can let them know that they're going to be getting an invite into their file from DotLoop because they're going to have to sign the paperwork. So it's just a courtesy notice, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think
That'll go to their email.
it creates the need for a conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing for you to have.
So most
Right there.
most property tax record websites will have the option, a print-friendly page or a print or something. For Pinellas, I think it's a little bit different, but let's just go into a random address here. For Pinellas, it's up here. It says print. So it looks vastly different than the Hillsborough County property page that we're on.
Sammy, go ahead and hit the print button and show them how to print as a PDF.
All right, so I just chose print-friendly page. It opens up. It might do something different depending on how your browser is set up, but it'll download itself. I'm going to download it here just so it pops up in my
Downloads.
down here. I want it down on my bar. I'm going to go back to DotLoop. I'm going to pull it from this bar and hover over tax record. It says drop tax record here, right? Or what you can do is browse your computer and pull in from your downloads, and it would pull in a document. Well, I guess I can do that. Let's go to my downloads. I have to move my DotLoop thing. Well, it was on my desktop. So I'm pulling it in from my desktop, right? But now I still can't submit. I have my tax record in here. Why won't it let me submit? It's not in the placeholder. So all you have to do is drag this. Now I can submit, right? And there's multiple ways to do it. You can either pull it in. It depends how your computer downloads it and saves it for you.
Yeah, but I want you to show, like you actually, because some people, if you hit the print button, like you're going to print to a printer, you can change your printer also.
Yeah, mine's
You
default.
save as PDF, or you can print to, the HP printer. But if you have a save to a PDF print button, then you hit print and it creates a PDF for you too.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you're doing a Word document or something and you don't want somebody to be able to change it, print it to PDF and send them the PDF, not the Word document, because they can edit the Word document.
Correct.
Just a little technical thing that's helpful to deal with.
Yeah.
And then if you get a PDF in your email, you can also email that PDF into your file as well.
Mm-hmm.
You just forward the email.
So so you can come here to add document. You can pull from templates and pull in your addendums if you want to find your homeowners associate, whatever you need. You can pull it from your desktop, or like they're saying, you can email. So you can just copy to clipboard. You would come here, and if there was an attachment to this email, I'll do something. So I'm going to put the recipient. I'm just going to copy and paste. I'm going to pull in that PDF of tax record.
Yep, it's going to go directly into that folder that
So I'm going to send that.
that you've selected.
Now I'm going to move my DotLoop bar or Zoom, I guess.
Here,
So I'm
here's
going
a
to refresh my page. Well, that didn't work.
No, refresh.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Refresh my page, and it's going to be the top document. You can click in here, and it's what it is. So it's important.
Name it. Oh.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to rename it at that point.
Or move it into the placeholder, which
Yeah.
is already named for you.
And so the interesting thing here that I want to touch on is that now.
Before you get off this concept real quick, because I'll confess I made this mistake. I had an email sent to me that I wanted to put in the loop. So I went and copied the email and I forwarded that email to that address, and it didn't come into the loop. So I did it again and again, and then I got pissed. And I called Sammy, and she says, no, you can only email
The
into the
PDF.
loop a PDF. So what I had to do is I had to print my email as a PDF and then email it into the loop, or drag it into the loop, or drop it into the loop. So if you print an email, if you want an email saved in your contract file, the seller said, it's okay to lower the price to this. Print it as a PDF, drop it in the loop, change the name to seller's price reduction September 24th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So get smart with your names. So this is one of my topics for you today is play in your loops and clean them up. You shouldn't have names like 1931207T700. That just shouldn't be there. Because remember, your homeowners are going to be coming back to this time and time again. So if they want to see their tax record, they go there. It's be called tax records. They want to see their approval for whatever it is. Just go through and spend a little time. It's an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure.
Plus, when you're looking at your file, you know what it is. You don't have to take the time to open the document to figure out what it is. And we in the back office, we have a specific naming protocol that we all follow. So we spend time cleaning up and renaming your addendums and the odds and ends of things that you guys put into your file. We kind of follow our protocol and rename things. So no worries there. Same with the loop names. If you see that we've updated your loop name and taken out the Florida USA or taken out, something that isn't meaningful to us in the back office, it's only meaningful to you. Please don't be offended by that. There's many hands in the files, and we have a standard protocol that we follow, so we all can get in and go through our workflows as smoothly and as quickly as possible.
So while you were talking, I just printed this email. So when you do have an email and you want it in the loop, like my dad was talking about, you just come to these three dots, you can click print, and my default is just save as PDF, so I don't have to change anything. And you just click save, and you can rename it there. I renamed it already. I'm not going to resave it. And then I pulled it in. And so it goes into your loop how the file is named on your computer. So it'll keep the PDF. It'll keep, the weird little things that you put in there. So I just saved it as notes to file .loop message. So that's what it would be named. And this is now my email is in my loop. When you guys forward me price changes, that's how I get it in the loop. I save your email, and that's the written authorization we need. So with this, now everything's ready.
Is the activity log available?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing too. At any time, we can always go back if there's any questions or we can't find something, we don't know who did what, how do we fix this? And you guys all have access to the activity log as well. Mm-hmm. So this tracks everything that is done to your file in .loop. So this is super important and will keep us out of trouble.
I modified a document. I added a document to the placeholder tax record. It literally is so detailed. It tells you the time.
Everything is tracked. Every communication you have with your client is tracked.
If I send a message in here.
Yes, that's where I was going for. So instead of using your email to communicate about your transaction, use .loop. Use the messenger in .loop. And we won't have to PDF emails and add them to the file, because the message when you're using the message icon in .loop, all of that is tracked and saved with the file. So you can go back, anybody who has access to the file can go and look at all of the correspondence. So be nice.
The main thing too is that now I'm ready to give my document to the back office. Slow down a minute, because I'm on a messenger in there. Where is the message? How do I send the message?
In two places.
Yeah. So there's this message icon up here, notes.
Which is the general, pertains to the entire file. So you would go and you would choose new note, and you would go pull from your list of people that have access to this file. All of our admin do.
And this is important,
then the clients.
Because a lot of people will say they don't know how to message listings, or they don't know how to message, whatever the case may be. You don't need to add us to your loop. I remove myself because it creates another loop. Whenever you add admin, if you add Ange, if you add Craig, if you add Chris, if you add myself, if you add whoever, it creates another loop.
Another view. So
yeah,
when we on our end.
Yeah, I would see multiple loops, and it would say, whatever the case may be. But so if you're adding us to share something, you should never be adding admin to your loop. Never add me to your loop. I am in all of your loops. Don't add me to your loop. Don't add Ange to your loops. Don't add Craig to your loops. Now, with that being said, people share things to Craig to be signed all the time. You still don't need to add him. You can just,
It'll add another loop view, Jessica. There's a message on there. I'm just going to quickly respond. So
I wish I could show you an example of this.
But back to that messenger icon. So that stays with your file, but that does not create an additional view. So you just want to converse with your clients or the other agents through DotLoop, only to avoid having to PDF emails and bring them into your file, because you want to document the file about that conversation. That's why we're saying use the messenger icon. And the other thing about the messenger icon is that, Sammy, if you open up one of these files, you have your list of documents, and to the right, can you open up one of these files? To the right of that document name, the placeholder, there's also another message icon there.
I just want to go away from this page.
So each list, so you have your primary messenger up at the top right. And then if you go to any of your list of documents, to the right is going to be a message icon. And that's how we communicate with you guys when there's compliance issues, or when we're trying to find out if a listing is ready to go live, or if we have a pending past estimated closing date. So that's how we're communicating with you guys, through the messaging icons here in DotLoop. You'll also receive an email notification. So it's not only in DotLoop that we're notifying you, you're also going to get an email notification that we've got questions and we're trying to reach out to you guys.
And it's also, and just for sarcasm's sake, it's also how we bust you. When you say, you never did that. And we go, yeah, we did it right here. Here's the proof. And it emailed you on this date at this time that we asked you for the seller's authorization to lower the price, and you didn't get it. We haven't gotten it from you yet. So really,
we won't change prices or dates without the client's written authorization. Same for addendums and contracts. So you guys can go ahead and submit.
But we will accept an email correspondence as long as the seller is readily identified.
Right.
So this is what I was talking about with the creating a new loop. So there's a loop in here. It's now archived. But so Sarah Myers had a loop. It's canceled. But so she added Craig as a person in this loop. He's not on the team, right? So when we come to our list of 704, and I'm searching for Pinckney, I see that this is created by Craig Beggins. Now, he didn't create this loop. And the only document that has been shared in this loop to him is this release and cancellation. So that is the only document that he sees. We're in the same folder, contract, whatever the last name is. I don't want to butcher it. And we're seeing the same folder. We're seeing people in the loop, and Sarah's not on his team also. I want to point that out. It's only Craig. This is the only document that has been shared to him. So this is the only view of the loop he has. Same with your clients. They will only see the documents that you share to them. So Craig, being in this loop, has only been shared one document, and therefore in his loop view, he only sees one document. If
Except
he
I usually log in as admin, so I see.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
And then which loop do you work in when you log in as admin?
Right.
I just wanted to give an example of what I meant by that, because you guys don't see this on your end, but when I search for 704 Pinckney now, I see multiple loops, and I know now this is also something. When you type your loop in and nothing comes up, your address doesn't come up, just click search all loops and it will. That will happen because your filters are set. So if I didn't have my filter set to my listing filters that I have, this would have come up, but because it doesn't match my criteria for my filters, it's not coming up on my list. But so yeah, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we go to another address. Of all one address, it's all one loop. So that's what we're meaning. You guys don't see this on your end, but when you create multiple people and you add admin, this is what happens.
So give an example, Sam. How do we, if Craig needs to sign something, how do we get that document to him to sign?
You could email him and say, hey, could you pop in this loop? Or I don't know if you'll be able to.
You can send him a message from the actual document.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll be like in your.
I'll show you. So go to that so just go to the contract deal sheet right there, and you click on that message icon, and then open that up and say new note.
It's going to look like for an agent.
It's going to look like the same thing because you go to a new note and you choose the person and you say, here, please sign, and you hit send. So the email notification that comes for Craig's signature, he clicks directly through that email notification and it takes him directly to the document that needs to be signed.
And I can do it on my phone if you want to.
You can do it on your phone, from the boat. You know, Jessica does things from the pool, and you know, it's crazy that these 20-somethings, they're so amazing with technology. We learn stuff. I'm learning every day from all y'all 20-somethings. I love it so much.
Something else.
Technology is awesome.
We're on the topic of listings and Craig signing things. With the MLS waiver, I signed these for every file. We've set it up in MLS where myself, Chris, and Ange have permissions in MLS to sign things as Craig, so he doesn't have to sign your MLS waiver every time. I've seen people put their managers in here. I've seen people put OTLs in here. I don't know. A lot of different things go on here, and I have to fix it every time, which is fine. But also, make sure you're filling out your agent MLS ID. If you don't know your office ID, it would be a good idea. Everything is fine. Look at that.
What is that?
A sticker.
Everything is fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's that.
You can find, I have to come in here and find your MLS ID and your office ID. So it's not a big deal, but you can find yours on MLS and you can put it here.
Or you can populate your account settings correctly in DotLoop, and that will autofill for you.
That is true. So the only thing that should be blank when you're submitting this is you can leave this blank if you don't know who to put, but it's going to be Craig's name. And then I will sign once I'm here to review it. But 9 times out of 10, what happens is this will be filled out, but the agent MLS and office ID isn't, and then this isn't filled out. And then to preserve y'all's signatures, I have to download this document, re-upload it, add your agent MLS ID, add your office ID, sign it, and then submit it. So if you just from the get-go have your stuff filled out and I can just click to sign this, so much easier.
Yeah.
Just update your account settings. All of these things can be added to
the
my account.
The other thing with the MLS waiver is that you have 5 business days from the date the listing agreement is set to be dated. So if your listing agreement is dated for October 10th, actually, I'll do it for today. If your listing agreement is dated for September 24th, but you don't want your listing to go into MLS until October 10th, you would need this waiver. If your listing agreement is dated for today, the 24th, and you don't want your listing to go into MLS until Monday, this form's not needed, and I won't turn it in because it's not necessary, and I'll tell you that. But so submission of this form is required within 5 days of the owners of record listing agreement. Okay, so the listing effective date is the start date of the listing agreement or when it's signed. So if you're going to withhold it for 2 days, if photos aren't ready, you don't worry about this form. It's for the longer chunks of time. A lot of the times I see this filled out as the same date as the listing agreement, and there's just no point because you're not withholding it for any longer than the listing. Like if the listing agreement is dated for 10/10, we're not going to enter it until 10/10. So you don't have to put this to hold it for October 10th because the listing agreement is already dated. So this is purely for withholding it past the listing entry date. I see that a lot.
Okay. We're over time, and I got a couple chats I want to address real quick. But also, while this form is in play, there is no public marketing allowed.
Correct.
Right? I had an agent call me so proud. She saw a listing and she put a note on Facebook and got a bunch of interest in it. And I said, is it listed? No. Do you have a commission agreement? Yes. You can't publicly market it. It has to be in the MLS in order to be publicly marketed.
And you can get automatically fined. It is an automatic fine.
$2,500.
Yeah, it's a big one, and we won't get noticed. We can't warn you about it. You'll just get hit with a fine. Even if you have a waiver on file, you still can't have a sign up. There's a whole page. If you Google Stellar MLS Clear Cooperation, you'll come up with their rules, and you can look over that for yourself.
It's also all in MLS and it's in .loop. All the rules for this.
Yeah, and this is a
you can find them in .loop. And the reason they get reported, it's because another agent has reported that you're marketing your listing and they can't find it in MLS, so they're mad.
Yeah.
Danielle, you raised your hand. I didn't see a chat though.
And then remember too, you share with your clients and you submit for review to the back office. You don't share with admin, you submit for review. If you don't submit for review, we and the back office don't know that there's something that needs our attention. So please don't yell at us. Why didn't you change my price? Well, we didn't know that we were supposed to because you didn't tell us, because you didn't submit for review. So we got your back. I promise we are on your side. All right?
Somebody asked about the Hillsborough property appraiser, so I just wanted to pop back in there. But my bar is in the way for Zoom. I have a bookmark up here. Yeah, it's just hcpafl.org, and I just go to property search, and then you can pull it up however you need to. We can talk about easy offer later.
Yeah, let's do another class on easy offer for Nancy.
Yeah, that'll be a whole.
Caroline said, what if you do not put the address, just a picture?
I've had loops. Well, you have to put something. You don't necessarily have to put an address, but you could put the client's name if you don't know it yet.
I think she's referring to publicly marketing the property. Like if she's referring to publicly marketing a property with a photo only and no detail.
You're running a risk that I wouldn't risk.
No social media. No.
And that goes for your client as well. Your client cannot do this either. You can still be fined if your client does it.
It's called NAR's Clear Cooperation Policy, and it's basically to put an end to coming soon listings, because unethical realtors were putting up properties, marketing them, and an ethical realtor has a consumer who wants to see that house, and the other realtor won't let them. So in order for the consumer to see the house, they have to drop their agent relationship and go see the listing agent, who then double sides it. And they said, NAR said that's not right. If there's no public marketing, and we're going to have to police by agents individually. So I can dare you.
We get busted. They'll bust us. It's happened.
We have nothing to do with it.
And if you do see somebody doing this, take a picture of the sign, take a picture of the social media post, because when you go to report this, you have to have evidence. So you have to submit a picture of them of the infringement. So if you drive by a sign and then you go and the property is not in MLS, go back and take a picture of the sign and bust them, because they would bust you.
And no signs in the yards until the property is in MLS.
Yeah, our go-to right now is to order the sign the day your listing goes live. And I know that's not ideal for some people because there's a 2 to 3 day turnaround. but I'm lenient. And if your file is complete ahead of the time of when it's supposed to go live, you have your photos, you have your remarks, everything's ready to go live on the required date, we will order the sign 2 to 3 days in advance. So it's up closer to when your listing is actually going live, if you request it. If you don't request it, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to put the risk out there. But I do have a couple agents that do request that, and it's perfectly fine. If your file is not okay, if you're missing the seller property disclosure, if you're missing a signature on the listing agreement, I'm not going to go ahead and order the sign ahead of time because I don't want something to hold up your listing and it be on us because we ordered the sign up, but your listing paperwork's not actually going to be ready. So only if your file is completely ready will I order the sign ahead of time. And that's just 2 to 3 day like turnaround time.
We've got your backs. We are looking out for you guys.
I don't want you to get a fine.
We've been doing this for a long time, and we know what the rules are, and we're not busting your chops. We're not trying to make things difficult. We're trying to help you guys. We don't want anybody getting in trouble, the company or you guys.
And I don't want to be the reason you're getting a $2,500 fine because I ordered your sign ahead of time, knowing your file wasn't ready.
So communication is super important. And we're nice and we're willing to help. We want to help. We are your support. We are your staff. We work for you guys. And Nancy, MLS ID, just look for the MLS office ID. And that's where you'll find that in your account settings, or look for your agent ID in your account settings.
Apollo Beaches is 729-100.
Or your NERDS ID. There's a place for your NERDS, NRDS ID. That's your agent, MLS agent ID in your account settings.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So today at 1 o'clock is the Fan Agent One app training. So I'll send a note out at that real quick. And this morning, South Tampa is doing their awards banquet.
Finally.
It's only been, not 10 months. Crazy stuff, but we are over time, and I've got to put on pants and socks and shoes. So
and get to Tampa.
You guys like this? A little thumbs up. Good stuff.
We'll
Awesome.
do contracts and paid at closes on another day. Easy offer on another day. Yep. The more you guys know,
I think easy offer is something everyone should be taking advantage of. And
absolutely, and we'll help build it out at time of listing. We'll build out the easy offer for you at time of listing.
Why don't we keep doing DotLoop stuff for the next couple of weeks just to get it? And we're recording all this stuff too, so we've got a great library.
Well, we do have the calendar stacked for the next few weeks, but we can, when we get some openings here coming up, I'll make sure to put DotLoop training in.
Chris, you should come say hi.
Yes, we want to see Chris. Where are you? Chris is the other half of our listings team.
Tammy, stop sharing.
Turned around and looked at me like I was going to die.
Stop sharing your screen.
So for the newer agent, Sam lives in Chicago, and she physically dragged Chris along with her when she wanted to move to Chicago. So now Chris and Sam are your listings team. Live from Chicago. So how cool is that?
I even have my
Sam, I don't know if you know, but we hired a relocation coordinator who lives in Chicago too.
I do know that, actually.
Yep.
Mom told me. Will you come over here? Jessica Decker wants to see you.
Yes, we all want to see Chris. And then we've also got Angela and Celeste on our Chris, hi.
He's so scared to get ready right now.
We've got Angela and Celeste on our contracts team. We're really missing Danny. Today's her birthday. Everybody wish her happy birthday.
Oh,
and I'll make sure Angela and Celeste are on so you guys can also meet them as well for your contracts. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you for being a part and wanting to learn and understand. It helps all of us. So thank you. We're your partners. We got your back.
Thanks everybody. See you tomorrow for some contract knowledge.
Adios.